Hey, it's Brian Kay, the unconventional advisor and the co founder of the Advisor Accelerator. And in this episode, I want to talk about which market's better, college planning or retirement planning, right? And definitely for the majority of financial advisors and most people are very well aware of the retirement planning marketplace. In fact, the entire financial industry seems to be constructed around becoming a retirement planner or retirement specialist, helping people manage their wealth in a 401k plan or outside of one in order to be able to retire one day, right? And that's a whole thought process. So, guess what? Everybody in the industry, for the most part, is focused on that marketplace. And I may or may not have told this story before, but there was a famous advertising executive. His name was Claude Hopkins, and he had an insight after doing 50 years in advertising that people are much more apt to buy a cure than they are to buy prevention, right? So, what's the big idea? The big idea is retirement planning is prevention. It is not cure, right? You're selling a future need. You're selling a solution to a future need, which many people, what do people spend most of their time focused on? They spend most of their time focused on present pains, right? Solving present problems and whatever's right in front of them. So, as you may have noticed, I've got my Cornell sweatshirt on for this, and I actually have my oldest son who's going to be heading back to Cornell. So I have a child in college. I've got another one on the way to college in about a year, and then I've got a daughter who's heading into high school. So I have three kids, all of whom are college bound. I'm a 52-year old. And that puts me into the category of a pre-retirement prospect, right? And what's the difference between me and somebody who'd be like in the retirement planning marketplace? Well, some people do go early and they focus on people, in my age group. And then, some people are focused on people who are above age 65 or age 70, and maybe they're focused on annuities or rollovers or whatever it is that they may be focused on, gathering more assets under management, helping people manage their money and create retirement income, whatever it is, right? But let's think about who has, number one, more urgency. A person who's in my age group that has three kids going to college and that has to be able to continue funding their overhead, which from a milestone standpoint is probably the most expensive phase that a family is going to go through, right? When all of their kids are going to be in college or heading to college, they're probably at the height of their lifestyle, the height of their expenses. Everybody's living under their roof. They're young enough to try to travel and create family experiences. And they also want to basically set aside money for their futures, right? So, very, very stressful, very expensive phase of a person's life. So, you have a lot of built in pain, urgency, and a marketplace that's looking for an immediate solution. Like, how is it that I could send all of my kids to college while maintaining my lifestyle and also creating a worry free retirement, right? Like, that's the ultimate question for someone in my demographic. That changes quite a bit if you talk to me about, what's your plan for the future? How big a pile do you think you're going to need? How much money do you think you're going to need to spend? What's your lifestyle going to be like? Like, these are all hypotheticals, and they're great. I'm a planner. I've been goal setting almost my entire adult life, and I know it works, so no one needs to convince me of that. But the fact of the matter is that, for the most part, there's no guarantees. To me, the best that you're going to be able to do is maybe I can predict out a year or so in advance with a very high level of accuracy. And even there is very, very difficult if you own your own business and you've ever tried to do a year's forecast. So to try to go out 20, 30 years with somebody and say, okay, let's figure out exactly where you're going to live. How many houses you're going to have? What kind of lifestyle are you going to lead? What kind of legacy do you want to have? What kind of charitable giving do you want to do? How much do you want to give to your children and their children? What do you think your tax situation is going to look like? And et cetera, et cetera. And yes, we can all do these things, and we should probably do all of these things. But more importantly, if you talk to me right now, my primary thought process is, again, how do I, comfortably get all of my children through college, maintain my existing lifestyle and continue to enjoy it, and continue to fund my future so that if I ever choose to stop doing what I'm doing, or I'm forced to stop doing what I'm doing, that I'm good, right? So that's a much more relevant conversation. So getting back to the conversation, college planning or retirement planning, here's a couple of key questions. Like, who has more urgency built in? Who's more of a starving market? Me or a 65 or 70-year old, right? Or someone my age that you want to talk to about like retirement planning. Okay, second question, who can you do more for? Right? So, the overarching belief system in the marketplace for a really long time is that, like, just tell people in the college funding marketplace to put all their money in a 529 plan and then focus on their 401k and their retirement planning and whatever, right? Well, that's a very bad piece of advice. It's number one, you're telling them to use a tool or a tactic. It's not really looking at them holistically, right? There's a savings phase, there's a funding phase of life, and there's a recovery phase, and then there's like a security phase, right? So the savings phase is what's leading up to college, and maybe 529s is a part of that. The funding phase is during the years your kids are actually heading to college and in college. Then there's a recovery phase for most people after college. And then there's hopefully financial security in those latter years where maybe they want to slow down, stop working, just take up hobbies or do whatever they feel like doing. So the fact of the matter is that you're dealing with a much longer period of time. And if you meet me where I'm at and you solve my immediate need or my urgency, you're going to open the door to the conversation about all these other things. Because here's the secret: college funding and college planning is really a cash flow and retirement problem in disguise, right? What people show up thinking the problem is that I need to figure out how I'm going to put all my kids through college. What the real underlying problem is like, maybe I didn't do an effective job of preparing for putting three kids through school. Maybe I haven't had the opportunity or the ability to put enough away for that event, and now I don't know what to do, right? I want to send my kids to private school. They're doing really well in school. I don't want to disappoint them. I have all this guilt, but I also want to still enjoy my life, and I don't want to derail my retirement, right? Like, how do I do that? How do I pull the rabbit out of the hat? So you have a much better prospect in a person like that. And so, again, longevity is always a signal that, number one, who can you do more for? A person in my situation who's got 20 to 30 years that you can do planning with, or someone who's 65, 70 years old, probably had 5 to 10 different relationships on the way to that place in their life. And many of whom aren't going to be able to go back to work. They don't have time on their side for compounding, and they may or may not have accumulated enough savings or investments to, generate enough of an income for them to basically just stop working and live off of their pile. So, now you're kind of in a let's put the band-aids together and figure out how to do the best we can do with what's already here, versus someone in my shoes where you've got, a 20, 30-year horizon, and there's a lot more flexibility because you have time. So to me, that's one of the biggest opportunities. And then another question is, who has more competition? Who's got more people going after the same marketplace? If you went and did a search on Google or the Yellow Pages or Yelp or whatever for retirement planners or for college planners, who do you think is going to show up with a lot more people right in within a 30-mile radius, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? If you're one of however many retirement planners, much more difficult to kind of have a unique voice amongst the crowd than if you're one of the people who actually does college planning and knows what they're doing. So the final piece is that there's a barrier to entry, just like there is with becoming a really good planner. In college planning, like most people in financial services have been taught, just tell them to go into a 529 plan or tell them to fill out a FAFSA form, right? End of conversation. Well, I'm here to tell you, after doing this for 23 years and helping over 22,500 families to solve this problem, it's not so easy, right? And the benefit of it not being so easy is that you actually create a barrier to entry. There's a lot of people and advisors and planners that just won't get into this because they don't want to go through the learning curve of getting good at it and learning how to solve this problem. But I can tell you that the power of learning how to solve this problem is you get in front of people with an immediate need. You have the next 20 to 30 years of planning with them. You also have the grandparents who want to pass assets down to that younger generation. So it opens up all these different doorways. You can generate a fee in addition to long term commissions and assets under management. And you have a starving marketplace that actually has an intense need to do something about their problem right now. So if any of this is resonating with you, I'm going to end it with go to check out our free 60-minute masterclass at www.starvingmarketspecialist.com and sign up. And I will go through an explanation of the 3-step formula that we've been using for 23 years to get in front of 30 to 50 of these types of families virtually, and then meet with 5 to 15 of them each week, and then sign 2 to 4 of them up for a service, as well as a long-term, lifelong planning relationship that typically yields anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 and immediately, and then for the lifetime it could be as much as $25,000 to $250,000 per client. So if that's of interest to you, go to www.starvingmarketspecialist.com. Again, this is Brian Kay, the Unconventional Advisor and the co-founder of the Advisor Accelerator. And if you like this, please give me a like. If you have any questions or comments, please give me a question or comment. If you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your feedback. College planner, retirement planner. And let me know what you'd like me to cover on future episodes. And if there's someone you know that you think would find this valuable, please share it with them. All right, signing off.